Good morning, everyone, and welcome to KRVIA Encounters. Shreyas Patil Architects has now completed 3 years of architectural practice. Their design philosophy has grown to strike a balance between contemporary design forms and climate responsive strategies. Respecting the context, staying true to materials, creating comfortable yet dramatic spatial qualities is what they desire to deliver. The practice is headed by architect Shreyas Patil and has had its inception since 2018. He has interned at NIVASA and GNA Bangalore 2014 and has been trained as an architect at Thirdspace Architecture Studio, Belgaum 2015 to 2018, and having attended the DLab Summer School at the Architectural Association London 2018. He has also served as a visiting design faculty at his Alma Mater, Department of Architecture, KLS GIT Belgaum, from 2015 to 2020. Welcome, Shreyas, to KRVIA Encounter.
Thank you, Avni. Can I begin?
Yes, you may be.
Is the presentation visible?
It's not.
No. I think you'll have to share your entire screen. Yes.
Now is it? Yeah, but I think I am not visible, right?
No, you are visible as well.
Okay, fine.
We can't see you though. Can you see him?
Yeah, he's visible. The camera is on.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone, and thank you, KRVIA, for having me for the Encounter series. So, I've titled my presentation for today as Contextually Crafted. So, in a constantly evolving field of architecture, it is challenging to limit ourselves to a certain style or philosophy of work. So, instead, what we look forward to is to formulate our designs that complement the culture, the site context, and the building typology, trying to strike a conscious balance between the native and an architecture that's going forward. So here are some of our projects. We would like to start the presentation with our first project, which is the Desus House. So the Desus House is a farmhouse located at Desus, which is like a 10-kilometer drive from Belgaum city. The built up is around 3,700 square feet. So while we had this project, the exciting part of the project was that it was located in a beautiful arecanut plantation estate. But the challenge was that there was already an existing farmhouse. Okay, and this is how the farmhouse was existing at the site with a pool. And what we decided is that we will design and reuse part of the old material of the project. So all the old Bangalore tiles were salvaged and we made walls of those. The old existing plinth was only extended. The existing walls of the project were reused. The bricks the exposed wire cut bricks were also reused. So the site is buffered by arecanut trees and sugarcane fields, and it harbors a weekend home that grows between what has always existed on the site. A part of the new design has sprung out of the plinth and the walls of an existing old farmhouse. So this is the evolution of the design. That's the existing farmhouse. You see the walls getting demolished. The bedrooms turn into courtyards. The shape of the pool changes. There is additions of bathrooms and living pavilions and the kitchen, more decks, landscape and furniture. So if you notice, most of the, not most actually, in fact, every built space has a kind of developed around the existing trees on the site. So the first image, we notice that the old swimming pool with the blue tiles, and then you also see the partly demolished farmhouse at the rear. In the second image, the pools have been taken off, the tiles have been taken off. You also see the living pavilion kind of takes its place between the trees. So what we noticed at site is that the pool was on the north and the existing plinth, which is the dark gray, was on the south. So we had a mid portion between the two to play with. So considering that, considering the sun path, the wind direction, the southwest monsoons, so we decided to have courtyards on the north, in the center, and in the east. So this keeps the most of the courtyards shaded during the day, and they also capture the north light through the openings on the north. Another evolution, GIF image. You see that the house is kind of metamorphosis of the house into a new design. So on arriving, you visualize a series of walls that are placed at different heights. This accentuates a sense of motion to the architecture, also metaphorically connects the earth and sky with its verticality. Though the overall floor plan is choreographed by pure geometric spaces, the intent is to achieve non-linear movement for the user. A bar counter and a swing protrude out of the central beam under the mango tree, creating a division between the dining and the living spaces. And all of this is mirrored in the black basalt pool. A series of rectangular parallel walls are juxtaposed to form small courtyards that act as wide thresholds between the living and bedroom areas. The occupants are transferred into a more restful region of the built form, which holds the bedrooms. Yet this shift retains the connections with the outdoors, as one can directly step out to the nature from every built space. Lastly, a kitchen block is designed with its independent filler slab. Placed in isolation, it has a more community kind of a character than a pure domestic kitchen. The kitchen has a direct dialogue with the courtyard in the front and a kitchen garden at the rear. The indoor serving platform of the kitchen extends outdoors into the courtyard, floating out as a large dining table. Inspired from vernacular courtyard homes, it aims to recall this through colors, textures, materials, and spatial qualities. The wire-cut bricks, unplastered concrete filler slabs, kadapa floorings, black and yellow oxide treatments give it a vernacular home-like feel. The black basalt swimming pool is influenced by the basalt step wells of the influenced by the basalt wells and ghats, vernacular to the architecture of the Deccan Plateau. The openings are designed to maximize the entry of the north light through the courtyards. The pivoted wooden screens can be adjusted to different degrees of seclusion considering the season, time, and purpose of activity. The teak lattice fenestrations throughout the design enable to achieve a smooth relation between the indoors and the outdoors. Here is another exploded view of the entire project. So where you see part of the old house retains the few of its walls. The new walls have been extended to kind of accommodate the gable roof. Toilet blocks have been floated out on the either side. We also have a new living dining pavilion that splits across the existing mango tree. And lastly, we have a kitchen block that is added on the rear, which is independent so that it has a more as I said earlier, more community kind of a kitchen than just a household kitchen. Coming to the second project that I've here to present is our own studio, which is located at Havelock Road at Camp in Belgaum. So if you all are familiar with Belgaum, Belgaum has a history of cantonment, and it was a stroke of luck that I happened to stumble upon this building. And while I noticed the building, it was in this state. So again, this project too didn't start with a blank slate. There was a century-old story already written at site. An old house was remodeled a couple of times for each of its tenant. And a year ago, it came into our site, and then we identified it as a suitable space for a studio. We had to open up the internal walls to accommodate an open, free-flowing space that has usable internal connections. The house originally opened onto a street. So in this image, you see the street in the front is where the house opened. At the rear corner, you can see the door of the house with just two windows. And on the left-hand side of the image, you see a stone wall, which was the outdoor toilet block, which was the backyard of the house, which we turned it into the front. We kind of made it into a lucrative entrance garden, courtyard entrance for our purpose. So this is the evolution of the house turned into a studio. And that is it. First is as you enter the studio, you are welcomed by the reception area. It has the lounger at the entrance room, which is a play of 5 cubes. So, which is a play. It's seen here in the graphics here, which each 5 cubes, which is scooped out to serve as seating and teapot units. The 5 can be arranged in various permutations. It is carpentered in plywood, and it is so that it is light and it can be moved, and it is polished with a micro topping cement finish to give it a smooth monolith kind of a personality. We had photographer Drupad Shukla, who kind of used abstracted the human scale with the furniture, and he kind of played with the photography of the furniture. So adjacent to this room adjacent to the waiting room is the room that houses the desks for the workstations for the architects and the interns. The desks are placed in an informal manner, considering circulation, light, and ventilation. So again, the desks are carpentered in teak with custom-made legs that also act as storage units. Overlooking this is the principal architect's studio or the workspace, which has a floating kind of a table with no legs. All the weight of the table is taken by a truss, which is kind of scooped into the 2 feet deep mud walls. And a conference room is positioned parallel to the architect's workspace. This room can be accessed directly from the waiting room. So we designed a table for the conference room that had a series of space frame fabricated structures piled over each other. That's the pantry. Located on a quiet street with neighbors on 3 sides, the only visible side of the building was the west side, which also acts as the main elevation of the building. it also had to be protected as the west would get in a lot of rain. So we protected it with a thin sheet of cotton metal, which act as chhajas that are suspended by twisted metal cables. Along the northern end of this is the entry to the property. This is marked by the presence of a large metal door painted in a dark blue, uh, coupled with a small pivoted window and a temple tree. As you enter the courtyard here, uh, a cast in situ concrete bench is placed along the compound wall, in combination with wooden flooring, kadappa flooring, an exposed concrete wall. The space is shaded by pergolas that run from north to south, casting dramatic shadows on the white stucco finished compound wall throughout the day. Not only does this space serve as a celebrated entry to the studio, but it also performs as a space for informal discussions and tea breaks. A set of Kadapa stone fins are positioned at an angle to form louvers that get in light and ventilation for the neighbors on the other side, because that originally used to be the back window to the neighboring house. This is, so that's the our project, our studio, which is an image of the past. It's an echo to the character of the colonial building typology, with altered modernist interventions to accommodate our studio. The third project is the Terni Farmhouse. A family of doctors kind of desired for a farmhouse at their ancestral farmlands, which is located at Terni village, which is in Maharashtra. The idea was to enjoy the outdoor spaces around a swimming pool, nestled between the sugarcane fields and the mango orchards. The drive to the farmland from the city takes you through a series of villages of Karnataka and Maharashtra. So as you drive to the Terni village, you have these impressions casted of the local village settlements, and there is a strong character of rural material palette, the simplicity in architectural style, a sense of rootedness, the humble lifestyle, which is a contrast to the city life. So the client strongly wished to have a slice of this in their weekend getaway. And we as architects had a contemporarized take on it. So like all village homes of this region, this piece of built form is basically divided into three main spaces. One dedicated to the daytime's activities such as lounging, eating, cooking, and entertaining. A second space flanking along the swimming pool and the deck holds the bath and the restrooms. Lastly, an elevated space is positioned right across these spaces for a good night's sleep. Unlike a typical village home, sheltered under a single gable roof, each of this space is sheltered by its own independent roof. Now, these three units are spaced apart from each other, such that the cantilevered gable ends of each roof slope into the buffer spaces, okay, which form the softscapes and the hardscape courtyards. The house disperses itself within a compounded boundary right in the middle of the fields, only to secure its users from the unknown wildlife. As one approaches through the east, a large lawn is set around the swimming pool, and the pool connects the house at the west end. The bedroom is independently placed on a higher plinth with aluminum sliding windows that open up the bedroom. Let's have a look at these images. This is the toilet block, the bedrooms, a few of our sections. Yeah, so the bedroom is independently placed on a higher plinth. A slim slit window is cut open on the west that frames the mountains. Here, this window, which is there on the west, it frames the mountains far across the farmlands. Also, it has these dramatic sunset views in the evening. The material play of this project strikes a balance between vernacular tones and contemporary hues. So it brings warmth and elegant attitudes at the same time. A twin swing arrangement is casually hung to one of the beams along the just so that one can swing over the swimming pool, and there's a certain kind of play that is happening around the space. Right across which there is a breakfast counter that cantilevers out under the gable roof. The entire built form is arranged as a system of interlocked pavilions connected to one another by open corridors, independent standing walls, floated floor plates. The open plan adds up to the dynamic nature of the space, letting one use the place as per the time, season, and occasion. The interplay of light and shadow is brought by the positioning of these roofs and walls. We have an exploded view of the roof. So I'd like to quote what Rick Joy says is that roofs are often recollections and reinventions of lean-to forms, always ready to shield from sun and wind and to easily shed off water and dust. So these are the three projects that we have completed and published. So apart from this, recently we have completed a few projects, and I'd like to just kind of give you a peek view into it. So we are all contextually crafted by the environments we live in, and architecture is a strong, powerful tool for it. This is a recently completed school at Gokak, which was like a competition entry where we designed this project, and only if it was approved by the committee of the school we could conceive to build it. And then this was a triangular site, and it was the south facing. It would be the south facing only elevation that the building would have. So the challenge was that one, it was a south facing plot. Second thing, that it was a very warm, dry region, which is Gokak, which is a part of Belgaum district. So we kind of articulated a series of brise soleils on the south with circular windows. So they kind of bring in abstracted patterns of shadows throughout the day. We also added a lot of staircases and courtyards and garden courts along the south. So all the classrooms are kind of pushed to the north and the east. So these are a few of the recently shot images. As you see, here we've considering the typology of the building, the usage, the kids, the colors, the palette. We've kind of tried to achieve a right design, I believe, and some more images where you can see the kids kind of have now very comfortable with the use of circular windows, the levels, and the brise soleils, and they kind of use it's a part of their everyday play through the school. Here's the model of the project. Here's another project that we will soon publish, or probably it'll take 6-8 months from now. It's the Jain Muni Navas. So if you look at the plan, it resembles that of a swastik. So incorporating a swastik and the basic elements of Vastu is how we've designed this with 4 courtyards, each courtyard having a specific function and each of the rooms having a specific function. So this is a religious building. This is basically for the Jain Munis who travel from different towns, who travel through Belgaum. They need place for shelter and food, and this is going to be a place for that. So we have kind of got inspired through the minimalist, the white color white, which the Jain monks kind of dress in. The Jain female monks are also clad in white. So we'd want to have this place have just the very basic tone of white and greenery around it. We've kind of inspired the spatial qualities through the Palithana kind of, the shikaras. We've tried to contemporarize the same courtyard, shikara, multiple courtyard and shikara kind of an arrangement in a more modernist way. And we are looking forward to clad the entire building in white marble. So, yeah. Yeah, thank you. This is my small little team, my studio. Starting from the left, that's Pooja, who is a fresher. She knows a bit of everything. She's like a jack of all. Then there is Shaunak and Rahul, who are the rendering and the Photoshop gurus of our office. Then that's Akshada, who is an intern here. She's the most talkative intern I've ever come across. Then there's Amruta, who's obsessed with our line weights and the drawings that we deliver. We also have Lokesh, who is the civil head, and he's the in-house kind of a structural backup we have, and he's never on time. And then that's me. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Did I run through the presentation?
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. I think I should have timed it a little slower, but that's me.
So we have our trustees discussion for today, and I would just like to that our director Manoj Parmar, who's also here, joined us, has gave us a suggestion to call you for encounters. Wants to say something first before we open up.
Hi, Shreyas.
Hello, sir. Hi.
Hi. Seen your work somewhere, I don't know where, I can't recollect, but immediately I just forwarded your email ID, which was. And I find your work, trespassing into 2-3 areas. I feel that one is obviously the vocabulary that indulge in are very contemporary in nature, but at the same time, the tectonics are kind of quite embedded into the region. Your architecture looks almost looks like something which is transient in nature, which is still going to grow, and I think it's a very interesting quality that I see, especially, architecture of that region. I mean, we have seen Praveen Bavdekar's work in that area, but I think it's a very refreshing to see this kind of architecture, which is not really burdened overwhelmingly with semantics and things like that. And the very idea that it's going to grow, I think it has the tendency to look like it's going to grow over a period of time, it's going to weather, So I congratulate you for putting such a wonderful work. And I open the forum for discussion and questions from students and faculty.
Thank you, sir. I'm overwhelmed by your words, in fact.
Yeah, Mamta, please.
Hi Shreyas, I'm Drashti.
Hi.
Hi, I'm a student from the 5th year, and I must say it was really refreshing to see the kind of projects that you've showed us. And it's really nice to see the composition of elements which came to life in the context. So it really made it apt to have these visuals in the sites that they're based in. So yeah, it was really refreshing to learn about these. And I think I just had a couple of questions, if you could throw some light on them.
Yep.
Mainly on, we just, as Avni mentioned, about your various internships and your work experience. How have those learning experiences reflected in the establishment of your practice and even today? Because like as fifth years, we're soon going to enter the professional world. So any intakes between the two aspects of architecture academia?
Okay. Yeah. So yes, having a work experience definitely is something that you need to look out to, and trying to work with a good architectural studio is very, very important. So it so happened that while I was interning in Bangalore with NIVASA and GNA, I was also preparing for the GRE and the TOEFL and the IELTS and all of that. I had plans to kind of pursue a formal master's degree, and it so happened that for that particular year, I thought I'll still continue to work, and I came back to Belgaum, and I joined Thirdspace. While I started working there, I kind of got to do some very good projects. So a year kind of extended into 2 years, and then that happened, and by the end of it, it was 3 years, and my GRE score was not valid anymore. So that's secondary. But then I also kind of applied for the summer school at A. Of course, it was a very good experience. But then the whole idea of trying to pursue a formal master's, you want to do it at a very good school, and the price at price at which it comes is exorbitant. And at the same time, the first project, the Desus House, I kind of got that. So while I went to the summer school is while that also the Desus Farmhouse had kind of started. So while I came back, so people got to know that I'm taking up work, and then the school kind of had a competition, and then back then it was just I was alone. That was the firm. I used to work at home for a few days, and then few of my seniors had started a practice. So I was kind of sharing a workspace with them, and then I moved to a smaller office. So it's all trial and error. It's been like that. But yeah, the work experiences have actually kind of formulated my sense of design. The practice of making models, sketching, a lot of model making, even at work, even at the internships, all of that put together, I think. I think we are all still students. I really look forward to attend more summer schools and keep myself excited with academics and kind of a sensitive practice maybe. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That was really nice and insightful. And just one more odd question. Senior projects, I think at least two of them were they came with predefined site conditions. So how do they prove as advantages or disadvantages in the process of designing? Because they can sometimes be rigid enough. So how do you play around that, or do you actually contrast it or go along with it? So just something, if you could let us know about that.
Yeah, that's very difficult. In fact, trying to convince the client. See, with the second project, which was my own studio, most of the design decisions happened at site, because I used to walk to the site almost every day, and then I kept looking at what was really required, and we started eliminating things that was unnecessary, and we kept it as minimalist as possible. But with the first project, we did a lot of models. I did a lot of 3D renders. We tried to explain it to the client. Luckily, I was very lucky to have my first client who was very who had given me a free hand basically. And there, of course, there were a few challenges, like as to trying to convince him to have a black basalt swimming pool. It was a big challenge, and we had to kind of make samples, and yellow oxide was something that he kind of was not looking to, and then we also had to make samples for that. So when you have one project and you have a lot of time, you don't mind, kind of taking those extra steps of convincing. But now it gets a little difficult with more clients and more convincing required. Yeah.
Natural. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Drashti. I would like to invite Rohan to continue the discussion further.
I can't see him, Avni. Maybe I'll call him in. Okay. Till then, we can ask questions. Yeah.
Yes. If anybody from the student body has any questions, you can please put it in the chat. I had a question for you. So you mentioned that you like model making, that you made a lot of models during your internship years. So do you think I'm a second year student, so it's a little tedious, and model making is a little tedious for me. I find it easy. So do you think model making is an essential part of understanding the structure? And
Yes. In fact, I would say model making is the most important part. So it kind of you kind of immerse yourself into the design. You kind of scale down yourself, uh, to the scale of the project. You understand the spatial qualities. You understand the way the building kind of is positioned within the context. The way parts of the building are in kind of juxtaposed to each other. So model making is really is fun, and you should kind of practice it a lot. So once you start getting a hang of it, you yourself kind of make your own shortcuts of finding ways out to make it easier. Yeah, it is very essential to have model making as a part of your practice and academics both. Yeah.
Thank you. We have a question from Shravan, I think. Go ahead, Shravan.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
So my question is kind of a follow-up of sorts to Avni's questions. When you do look at model making as an architect, do you look at it in terms of like either figuring out the form or the design? Do you look at, I mean, it's obviously a combination of all, but where do you sort of lie in where's the crux fit? Is it figuring out the form? Is it representing your design as a form? Is it understanding the structure or the climate sort of responses? Because you did talk about the climate quite a bit, and your design seemed to be reflective of that.
So once you kind of sketched your plans and you kind of want to explore it vertically, is when you want to kind of get into the model making aspect part of it, right? So yeah, that's how we typically kind of sketch our plans, and we kind of make models that are not that directly may not be the design, but they're just abstractions of the plans itself. And then we kind of take it back to softwares. We kind of 3D model them, and then we come back to model making. So it's a tool that you kind of use just like you sketch and you make models, but it's not the ultimate tool just to get your 3Ds made or something. It's for the design process. And you at times you might get your forms through models. At times you might get it through sketches, but then it's just a part of the entire process. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jimmy has a question. Jimmy, you can go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good morning. Very nice work. However, my question is not with regards to the work that you showed. It's quite good. I did gather from one of your from your last comments that you missed the opportunity to do a master's.
Yes.
And I see that you are working at Ground Zero, a small town And we all know that the initial years of an architect are difficult. You have to stick by for the first 10, 15 years.
Yes.
That is by way of practice. Shall your till your hair turn gray and people can vouch to invest crores in you.
Correct.
We have a large number of students who come from smaller towns around Mumbai. More than 50% of our students are from small towns. Once they pass out, they do interns, they do work in offices for 6 to 8 months, and then they get bored. Bored big time doing working drawings, find it difficult to sit 8 hours and work in offices, and find this great clamor to run abroad to do masters. Best, as you rightly said, huge sums of money. Yeah, and most of the time we tell them that kind of money, if you'd invest in your practice with an office space and some staff and bid for projects, perhaps you'd do well. Do you have some words of advice on that front?
Yes, I will. I will elaborate my experience about how these projects that are now published, they started. So the Terni Farmhouse was, as I mentioned, was for a family of doctors. So while I was working with my previous job, so after 6 or 7 in the evening is the time when I used to meet this young couple, and it all started 3, 4 years back. So I used to do these. We had these tiny renovations happening at their hospital. So just maybe I has to just go and select the nameplate color or the logo. I designed the logo for them. I renovated the compound wall. I renovated their entrance porch. And so they slowly started developing a confidence. So what happened is they kind of were now comfortable with me, right? And they started trusting me because whatever little I did, it aged well. They saw it getting appreciated by others as well. So then the next day asked me to renovate their bedrooms, and during that process they started thinking of extending their farmhouse. So there is an actually, in fact, right opposite to the Terni farmhouse is an existing old farmhouse. So we first renovated that, and that was I had actually warned them against that, because I told them you all will be ending up spending a certain amount, but you all will not enjoy the design, because then ultimately it's just a renovation. But they somehow they had a cold feet against a new design, because then old houses have some sentimental values, they don't want to break them and etc. So we renovated the old house, and a year later they realized that it's not really what they wanted, and they asked me to give a proposal for a new design. And then actually I by then I was kind of bored doing sloping roofs, because I'd already done the Desus Farmhouse. So I had given them a design proposal with concrete, exposed concrete cubes that kind of jut out through the farmlands, etc. And they were like, no, this is not what we want. We really want sloping roofs, and that is it. So then I had to kind of accommodate that, and so getting to a design like Terni House, which now is published everywhere and all that, this is just not like the 2 years of designing. This is 2 years of designing and 3 years of doing smaller works for the same client. So, when you start your practice, you kind of need to accept even the small little works that you get, because then we, as youngsters, we have this tendency to overestimate ourselves. And when we take up the small works, we really we understand that the small challenges that are hidden in them. The contracting challenges, or the material challenges, the pricing. There is a lot apart from the designing part. So in fact, you learn more when you take smaller projects. So I mean that's how. And in fact, most of all the few initial projects that I had, they were for all these clients whose tinier little works of renovations, or kind of redos of their houses were a part of my earlier work for them, and then got to do bigger works for them. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you for your question, Jimmy. If we have no more questions, we would like to end the session now. Do we have any more questions? Thank you so much, Shreyas, for coming here and delivering your talk at KRVIA.
Yes.
Thanks, Shreyas.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, KRVIA. Thank you, Mamta ma'am, Manoj sir. Thank you, Avni. Thank you, everyone, for attending it.
Yeah, thanks. We enjoyed the session.
Yes, yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Who's sexy?